A few hours ago, a historic deal was signed. A deal that took more than 70 years in the making. A deal that changes West Asian politics completely and redraws alliances. I'm talking about the Abraham Accords. Sealed in August, signed yesterday. Let me show you a picture. This is the stuff of history books. Weeks before the United States goes to the polls, Donald Trump has pulled off a big foreign policy win. His government has brokered two landmark deals. Two Arab countries have normalized ties with Israel, the homeland of Jews. The UAE and Bahrain are now allies of Israel. Why is this significant? Because for decades, Arabs and Jews were foes. Arab states boycotted Israel. They backed Palestine. They insisted that the Israel-Palestine dispute should be settled first before they recognize Israel as a country. Well, the dispute is far from settled, and here we are. The UAE and Bahrain have done it. More Arab states are expected to follow suit. Donald Trump's deal fundamentally changes West Asia. Until now, only two Arab countries had ties with Israel. That's Egypt and Jordan. Now we have four. The UAE and Bahrain, as I said, have normalized ties with Israel. This is very significant, although not quite the deal of the century yet, the one that Donald Trump had promised. He's calling it the dawn of a new Middle East.
We're here this afternoon to change the course of history. After decades of division and conflict, we mark the dawn of a new Middle East. Thanks to the great courage of the leaders of these three countries, we take a major stride toward a future in which people of all faiths and backgrounds live together in peace and prosperity.
The Abraham Accords is the most significant diplomatic achievement of Donald Trump. It is named after Abraham, the common patriarch of Jews, Muslims, and Christians. God called him to found a new nation. The Abraham Accord is the beginning of Israel's rapprochement with the Arab world. The Palestinians call it a betrayal. The fact is that these countries have only put on paper the relationship they've had for years. The support to Palestine has long been reduced to political symbolism. Arab countries have had covert dealings with Israel for many years now. Now they'll have an open relationship. They'll set up embassies, open travel routes, and sign business deals. Needless to say, this is a big win for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Israel welcomed the deal by projecting the flags of all four countries on the old city walls in Jerusalem. Netanyahu called the deal a path to peace.
This day is a pivot of history. It heralds a new dawn of peace. For thousands of years, the Jewish people have prayed for peace. For decades, the Jewish state has prayed for peace. And this is why today we're filled with such profound gratitude.
Let's now talk about Bahrain and the UAE. Both are allies of Saudi Arabia and now friends of Israel. Bahrain and the UAE stand to gain a lot from this deal. For the UAE, it means a halt to Netanyahu's annexation plans in the disputed West Bank. The UAE would like the world to believe that it has taken care of Palestinian interests. It can also access advanced American weaponry, like the F-35 jets. Same with Bahrain. It can now buy high-tech Israeli weapons. But here is the biggest prize, a stronger alliance against Iran, a common enemy of all these countries. The United States is orchestrating a big shift in this region. Donald Trump says the UAE and Bahrain, these deals are just the beginning. He expects more than 5 countries to recognize Israel now.
It's historic. It's a very historic deal and will become more and more historic when other countries join, which they're going to. I can tell you from personal knowledge, 5, 6, even 7 are wanting to get in and get something signed really quickly. So it's something that we should all be very proud of.
5 to 7, he said. That's the estimate from Donald Trump. What does this mean? It means the Israel-Palestine conflict no longer dictates the terms of engagement in West Asia. It is not about Jews versus Arabs anymore. It is now sectarian. It's Shia versus Sunni. This has morphed into a new battle. Iran is on one side, the Gulf, Sunni Gulf states and Israel on the other. Iran can count on Turkey for support, perhaps Pakistan, which doesn't back this deal, but it is indebted to the Saudis and its support doesn't matter anyway. What does Pakistan bring to the table? So here we have it, a new matrix. Israel is now recognized by Egypt, Jordan, the UAE and Bahrain, 4 countries. Next in line are these, Saudi Arabia, a very strong possibility and a very significant one too. It is already cooperating with Israel against Iran. Reports say Bahrain signed the deal only after a nod from the Saudis. But Saudi Arabia itself signing such a deal is an entirely different affair. Israel is still political kryptonite for MBS. The Americans are hard at work. Then we have Oman. It congratulated Israel and the UAE on their agreement. Oman has often played the role of an interlocutor between Israel and the Arab world. It could easily formalize the ties and take the relationship, the partnership, to the next level. Beyond West Asia, names of African countries like the Sudan and Morocco are also doing the rounds. So Israel looks all set to make windfall gains on the diplomatic front. What happens to Palestine? The Palestinians are angry. They're protesting. They say this agreement should not be called a peace deal because it has no representation of Palestine.